Hey everyone, I'm Nato King, and I don't know about you, but I remember back when games came on those little floppy disks that were exactly the same as the ones you'd put all your data on. It was really easy to pass copies to your friends, and so every company thought they could stop that from happening by publishing their games with those little paper disks, where you had to line up symbols and words and then type in a number. At least they were harder to copy than the instruction manual, where they got most of the copy protection from. But that's easy enough to do in this game. There's only one number that applies here. It's 2007, and I'm going to play Altered Destiny. Yeah, this game was made in the late 80s, came out in 1990, and it reeks pretty heavily of the 1980s adventure game sensibilities. You got keyboard controls, a text parser, and graphics that half the time don't actually look like the things they're supposed to be and require you to use your imagination liberally in order to figure out what's going on. But that's okay. I mean, it's the style of the game, it's the way they were made, it's the technology we had. I kind of wish I knew where this fell in the Sierra timeline, but I've played Ultra Destiny before, but we're gonna watch the intro, because you have to understand what's happening. Remember the days when HD TVs would fit in the same space as an SD TV? And with that, the game begins. And we're standing in this clearing which is high above the world. We can walk around, and as you see, death is everywhere. Unfortunately, the game doesn't really have a lot of interesting death messages. So, I'll probably only show off the ones that are actually worth seeing. So you can move around by clicking, which is kind of a very late 80s thing to do. And if I ever figure out how to set my numlock properly, I can use the numeric keypad to move around, which gives me diagonal control. First place we need to go is over into this building, of course. And we need to talk to this guy about a few things. Looking and getting a textual description of most places is kind of fundamental to understanding what's going on. So of course we want to make sure to talk to everybody about pretty much everything they might be interested in. Apparently the metal shaper isn't very interested in metal. Well, see, there are things that we can probably ask him about: weapons, tubes, and cages. Or maybe not. At least we can see his wares on the wall behind him there. He turns everything into an insult. Yeah, the tube is an actual item in the game, and since it's not here, we can't ask him about it. But I tried. Now, I happen to know from previous playthroughs that we're going to need a cage, and we have to ask him to make it for us. So I'll just get that out of the way early. It takes him some amount of time to actually make the cage, so I'll probably have to come back later. In the meantime, we can go ahead and take some of those weapons we were looking at before. And the cage is already done. That little sound you hear is us getting points. That was another, 80s-ish adventure game thing. Getting points and the game keeping track of your score as you went through. If you got the perfect score, you know you'd done all the important things. As it is, let's take a look at what I'm holding now. I've still got the bowl of popcorn from the intro, as well as all the stuff that I picked up from Alnar's workshop. Yes, the popcorn is going to be important at some point. And I'm trying to figure out how to pull up the menu with a mouse, but turns out you just gotta hit escape. I'm gonna save the game over one of my old saves. You're gonna see me do this a lot because this was one of the games that came at the very peak of the save early, save often era. Fortunately, there are speed controls right on the keyboard if you hit the plus or minus keys. I'm gonna have to use those quite a lot too, just because there are some animations that take way too long. The default walking speed is really slow, but sometimes you need better control, which means lowering the speed. Well, it doesn't look like I can go any further into here. This sign is blocking the way. I doubt I can read it. Well, I guess we'll have to go find the small island and talk to the owner of this dwelling. Don't know why, I've just got that funny adventure game feeling. And now we're on the other side of the colorful building that we saw earlier. With nothing special about it, apparently. That can't be right at all. So, pigments falling from the sky into the building. Let's go check out what they're making with them. Seem to be colorful shapes or something. Well, as usual, we get the most information by talking to people. Yeah, I could probably take the tube back to Alnar and ask him about it, but there's really no point. So that's what these shapes are called. Frags. I gotta ask him about each one individually. No, it just says the same thing about all of them. So the sphere is the only one we can pick up by hand. The game never explains why, but we actually need to use this tube if we're going to take any of the smaller ones. It's a tube used for carrying them, so that's how we carry them. Now, apparently those little frags say something, but I forgot to look at them. And there's one other thing that stands out. You have to notice that colorful bottle there. We're going to need it later. Alright, so that's everything we need here. I could probably ask Tentro about the pigment, but don't care. Moving on. We've got more of this island in the sky to explore, and eventually we gotta find a way down. But we've come to the far end of the world, and no ladders. There's something written over there on the rock. But I'm going to save before getting too close, because he can fall off the edge of the island and die. As it is, just standing on this rocky projection here causes a flying pizza to show up. What, you don't believe me that it's a flying pizza? Take a look at this. Like I said, a pizza. And the markings on the rock give us a clue that, yes, this thing goes back and forth. The problem is, it's not quite that simple. Because when I stand on it, and back when I played this game for the first time, it actually took me a very long time to realize I was just too heavy for the transporter. So I need to come over here and drop some of the heavy things that I'm carrying. I mean, I've got an axe, a sword, a cage. I can carry a few things, but rather than pick and choose, I'll just drop everything. I don't need any of this stuff for the moment. And now we're heading over to the small island that was mentioned on the sign. I should probably speed this up a little bit, because traveling takes forever. Well, there's obviously someone on this island to talk to. But who is it? Okay, this is Vinda. So now we can talk to Vinda about various things. What's the problem? What do I talk about? I guess the things that I saw in the intro. So have you figured out what we need to ask Vinda about? Alright, well clearly we need a divination. Now we've gotten to the heart of the matter. So now you know why I picked up some of those things earlier, the cage to keep the bird in, and the pigment to act as bait. Now we've just got to find those woods where the Indela bird is found. Well, that's the right direction, but not the right way to get there. I honestly don't know how I managed to get as far in this game as I did just using the 4 arrow keys. I seriously beat this game using only the 4 arrow keys for movement. Alright. So let's very carefully and slowly make our way back onto the transporter. And then we'll speed things up. This is about as fast as the game runs, which is fortunate. I mean, if it ran any faster, then... well, you've probably seen what happens on Sierra games if you run them at the fastest speed. So I'll get all my stuff. And now take a look at the obvious method for getting down. Those floating seed pods there. I think the descriptions of both are identical, but you do have to specify if there's more than one on the screen, which one you want to look at. So there's small ones and there's large ones. And I certainly want to make sure that I grab one that'll hold my weight. So let's let the small one go by and grab the large one when it comes. Yes, you've got to wait for it to be close enough. Okay, clearly the small floater is what we want. But for some reason when we load, the floaters don't go back to the positions where they were when I saved. And the small one is way out of reach. So now I gotta wait until I can grab another small one. Okay, there's one slowly moving to the right. I think I actually do have to wait in real time until he gets over to the right screen before I can grab it. I don't think I can climb down the stairs and grab one from down there. There aren't even any on the first screen. It is possible to grab one from the very first screen. They move at different speeds, too. I mean, that large one at the back is almost caught up to the rest of the pack. But the small one's coming along. I'll speed things up as much as I possibly can. One of the problems with games, and is kind of endemic to games of the era, when you had to wait for something, you actually had to wait for something. Remember the timer in King's Quest III? Pretty much the same thing here. But now we're finally going down to ground level. And as you can see from the fact that there's a crossroads, there's a whole bunch more game to explore once we get down here. 4 different ways to go, and only 2 of them end up looping back to each other. But of course, we'll worry about exploring further from here in the next video, where hopefully I'll actually be over this bronchitis and sound normal. See you then.